This is the Emojo Bull Electric Tricycle, a very nice looking and functional tricycle suitable for people of all ages. It's got a powerful 500-watt motor, which is going to pull you up hills, and the frame itself is a low step through. At only 8.5 inches, just about anybody can kick their leg over that and mount it easily. Handles up to about 300 pounds, so you can pack a bunch of groceries or whatever you're carrying that in that back basket, and we'll show you that. This one came with the comfortable seat with the backrest. That's a really nice option, especially on these trikes. And it also comes with a picnic bag as well. You can choose a whole bunch of different options on their website when you order your trike from Emojo on their website. So everything you need comes in 2 separate boxes. I mean, this is a little too big to fit in one. The frame itself is very, very light. I was surprised how light that is, but it's strong. Again, it's going to hold up to 300 pounds, and that includes your baggage and whatever you're carrying and the rider. And here's the rear rack. Look at that guy. This is super beefy steel, and that's nice that that's that strong. And here's the rear axle. And the important thing to know about the rear axle is it is a differential axle. So those wheels spin completely separately and independently, which is much better and much less risk of a rollover when you're taking tight corners and sharp turns. You don't want to take sharp turns on a trike anyway due to the balance of these things, but this is much safer in this type of environment. So these are you have your battery charger and everything you need. This is the entire kit out of both boxes, and now you're ready to assemble this. I have to tell you, it's going to take a little bit longer than a traditional electric bicycle. Oh, here's a pro tip. Charge your battery first. Throw that 14 amp hour lithium battery on a charge before you start building it. It doesn't have to be powered on to charge, which is nice, and it does have a battery indicator right on the battery level indicator right on the battery itself, which is a nice option. So here's the book with step-by-step instructions with color photographs that are super helpful. So the first thing they want you to do is put the handlebars on. So you're going to take that little plastic protective piece off, and you can get rid of that. And then this sits right on top of that tube. There's a spacer that comes with it. This is about as high as it goes. So I left the spacer on there. I didn't want to go any lower. Of course, if you're a little shorter, you might want to let it go a little bit lower, but this is just about the right height for the average height person who's riding this Emojo Bull trike. So you're going to tighten these guys up. Now, once you line up the handlebars with the front wheel, and then tighten those guys up, and then the bolt you took out with the cap, you can discard the cap and just drop this long bolt in the handlebar tube and then tighten that up, and that will connect it permanently to the rest of the frame, so it's not going to go anywhere. You want to make sure these are pretty tight. This along with the 2 bolts on the outside. All right, so here's all the fun bolts that come with it. Now we're going to connect the rear axle to the frame. And there are some bolts for that. They're the chunky ones. I believe there are 6. And all you need to do is connect those. There's 3 on each side. And now we'll remove the bolt that protects the front fork. Just loosen those up and pull that out, and you can discard that. You're not going to need it for anything. And this is your front motor with the disc brake. Make sure the disc is aligned up with the brake assembly, and that slides in there nicely. I find it's easier just to take the nuts off. Take the nuts completely off of the front tire assembly before attaching it to the frame. Seems to slide in a little easier. So you're going to see this right here. You're going to line up that disc with the brake assembly, slide it in there, and it will fall right on the frame very, very nicely when it's in the right place. Takes a little finagling to get it in there right. And you'll see it'll drop right in there when you've got it lined up perfectly. And then you are good to go. You can put your nuts back on and attach that to the frame. Make sure those are pretty tight as well. All the tools come in the kit. Just about all the tools you need. I think I had to use a couple extra wrenches. Now we're going to connect the front motor cable to the controller. And it only goes in one way. You'll see there's a couple long pins there. Kind of find it in and match up the arrows on here. As long as the arrows are pointing in the same direction, it's going to slide right in there nicely. You're going to want to make sure this is in here nice and tight. So once it's attached, just push it in real tight. Make sure all those connections are touching each other. All right, now it's time to put the chain on. Now this chain is it's not connected. You're going to have to use a tool that comes with it called a chain breaker tool that comes with it. It is included. So you're going to pull the derailleur down, a little spring, kind of hold that down. And then the instructions, as the instructions in the book tell you, just feed that chain from the top. And you'll see it's intuitive. You're going to wind it around. You'll know where it doesn't go. It's going to line up like a typical derailleur, and it's going to fall into place here. And it's got a couple protective guides on the derailleur itself, so it'll make sense how that chain goes in there. It's pretty simple to do, and the manual tells you exactly how this is supposed to be threaded. It's pretty easy to do. Just hold that derailleur down and feed it through there, and then we'll just loop it back up to the crank. Now you'll have your two pieces here, and you'll see you have a pin. And your chain breaker, the tool that comes with the trike, is going to be used to push that pin in and connect the two pieces of the chain together. And you take your chain breaker, should be all the way open that thing all the way up, just drop the chain right in there, and then start twisting. And that will create the permanent connection, and your chain will be ready to go. Once your chain's together, now you just wrap it around the crank, and you now have an official bicycle. It's already oiled and ready to go. So now we're going to tighten the bolts that connect the rear axle to the frame. Make sure those are real tight. Now it's time to connect the derailleur to the controller and also the rear brakes. And you have three cables here. The two long ones are for the brakes, and the shorter one's going to go through the derailleur, and it shows you in the instruction manual exactly how to feed it through and then tighten that guy up. Make sure it's pulled nice and taut, and then tighten it up exactly where it's going to be. It may require a little bit of adjustment to get it right once you've got the bike built, but don't worry about that right now. Get it all together, get those all connected and tight where they're supposed to be. And then once you're finished the build, the assembly, you can go back and adjust all these things. So this is the brake cable, and that's going to feed right through here like this. And again, it's pretty obvious where these things go. Normally on a lot of the two-wheel bikes, this part is already assembled. This is a little more tricky than your average bike assembly, but not difficult. If I could do it, anybody can. Once you've got that in there, go ahead and tighten that up. And you'll probably need to adjust this too a little bit later in the assembly. And then there are a couple bolts on the outside here too, where you're going to need to align those pads to make sure that they're not rubbing on the disc. And that's not hard to do too. And this is also explained in the manual itself. Make sure she's got a nice freewheeling. Now the first time you ride it, you're going to bed those brakes in. So if it's rubbing a little bit right now, don't worry about it. It usually works itself out. All right, there's a couple more bolts you're going to use later. There's one that's a little bit thicker than the other ones. And this is the one you're going to need to attach the front fender assembly to the frame. And also the front headlight goes right in front of that clip there. So this pulls through. You won't need the nut because it screws directly into the frame. And this is going to keep your front fender on nice and secure. There's also another wire that connects to the frame. Then you'll connect your headlight. Make sure that that's got power. Nothing works without power, and it sure is nice to use the bike's battery rather than a separate battery. And now we'll connect the rear fenders to the rear cage assembly. And once the fenders are bolted on securely, let's go ahead and drop that rear rack right onto the frame itself. This also can be a little tricky. It's held on by 4 bolts. And it's kind of awkward getting underneath there. But with a little patience, you'll get this secured on nicely. And you'll be able to carry all kinds of things. You carry pets, you can carry groceries, you can make deliveries. I'm thinking about doing my entire shopping trip on this trike. And then when that's done, you just bolt in the rear LED light. And then connect the wire for that as well. So people can see you when you're braking, and they can also see you in the dark. By the time you're done this, your battery should be pretty well charged. And again, it's a nice 14 amp hour, 48 volt battery. It's going to give you plenty of juice to get wherever you need to go. And it just slides right there on the rail, real nice. And there's a key in here, and the key just locks the battery in. So once that's locked in, you take the keys out, and your battery is secure. You can remove it for the convenience of charging while it's not on the bike, so that's nice too. Then you're going to connect the power cables together. 2 giant red arrows on here, make it real easy. Make sure that's nice and tight as well. And now it's time to put the pedals in. You can see there's a little sticker on the pedals that tells you which way to turn. It's a little weird. Usually try to go one way. If it doesn't hold in, go the other way. And the included wrench, I believe it's a 15 millimeter, you just tighten these guys up. You make sure your pedals are nice and tight as well. And finally, let's put the seat on. Again, this is the seat with the backrest, super comfortable. Nice padding on this thing, and this will make your back feel a lot better, so you have something to lean on. A quick release just opens up here and allows the seat to drop in. It allows for easy adjustments too. If you're sharing this trike with someone else, you can adjust the seat to the height that you like. And you tighten it up with an Allen wrench on the other side. The tires may not be inflated, so I brought them up to about 40 pounds, which is the lower end. It gives you a little bit more of a cushy ride. And there it is, the Emojo Bull, built and ready for riding. It's a great looking tricycle. We've already got tons of compliments on this bike. Our next video, we're going to do the riding experience. So make sure you hit like and subscribe so you can see what's going on as we tour the neighborhood with our Emojo Bull tricycle.